Good evening. It's a joy to greet my brothers and sisters at Indian Trail Church of God. Special greetings to your pastor and Sister Debbie, who I appreciate so much and just cherish our friendship. Phyllis and I are missionary educators in South America. We believe the best way to fulfill the Great Commission is training national workers. Remember, a native Peruvian can reach another Peruvian better, faster, cheaper than you or I can. So if we want to reach Peru, the best way to do that is training Peruvians. That's what we're all about, training national workers. We do this through supervising Bible colleges, one in Peru, and then another Bible college in Peru, where we've got a great group of students. Each one of these students are called into full-time ministry, and then another Bible college in Colombia that your pastor's actually taught at. And both of these programs are designed to be residential programs. The students live there, eat there, study there. And we feel this is the best way to train pastors and future church planters. Okay, we started off the year very strong, excited about both programs, and then all of a sudden, boom, COVID hit. And if you think that COVID was bad here in the States, wow, you should have seen it in Peru. We were locked down completely from mid-March until the end of July. You were only allowed to go to the pharmacy, the grocery store, or the bank. Everything else was closed. There were no private vehicles allowed in the streets. The police and soldiers were on just about every street corner asking to see your documents to make sure you weren't straying too far from home. There were armed soldiers and military vehicles, including tanks, roaming the streets to make sure that the restrictions for COVID were fulfilled down to the letter of the law. The airport was closed down, didn't reopen until November. And the lines were everywhere. The supermarket, no exaggeration, 3 to 4 blocks long, the line just to get into the store. But then I noticed that there was a shorter line for the elderly people, and I asked the person what age is elderly, 60 years old. So I took full advantage of turning 60 this year and got to be in the shorter line, which was great. But anyway, um, COVID kind of hit us hard when Samuel, our Bible school director in Colombia, his wife Adriana, was diagnosed with cancer in January and was undergoing chemotherapy. And on her final chemotherapy um, session, she got COVID there in the hospital and ended up a week later crossing the Jordan to go to her heavenly home. Samuel and his family were devastated, but the Lord has comforted them and helped them. And he's still doing a wonderful job with the Bible College despite all that's happened to him. So that made it tough on us. And then, of course, we had to adopt our program, these residential programs. We had to adopt them to an online program, both in Peru and Colombia. About half of our students stayed on campus because when they announced that they were shutting the country down and going into quarantine, they only gave us 24 hours to get to where you were going. And most of our students could not get home in that short amount of time. So they ended up staying on campus. And so we had about half of our students on campus, both in Peru and Colombia. So we continued to feed them and house them and care for them. And then they would get online together with the students that were at home and do their classes. So it was kind of a tricky year for us, adapting our program and training the teachers to do the classes now online through Zoom, which is what we're doing right now. This is a Zoom video. And it was tricky doing that. And Phyllis and I had to learn it ourselves before we could teach the others how to do it. But as it turned out, it ended up being a very, very interesting year. Classes ran rather smoothly. We did not lose a single student during the 9 months of quarantine. Actually, we picked up 3 additional students, so that was cool. And then Phyllis and I were just given all kinds of unique opportunities for ministry. Before COVID, On an average month, I would preach 4 or 5 times, maybe on a good month, 6 or 7 times. Well, during COVID this last year, we were preaching 25 to 30 times each month. It was unbelievable. One Sunday, Phyllis and I preached in 6 churches in 4 countries, all without leaving our home over the internet. We've been invited to do marriage seminars, apologetics presentations. New countries have opened up to us. We've done teaching in Ecuador, in Chile, Venezuela, and of course, Colombia and Peru, without leaving our homes. And so to us, it's been a very, very exciting year and a very fruitful year. And then when things started opening up, Phyllis and I were able to make a few motorcycle trips together. This one here was to the city of Ayacucho, up in the mountains. We actually went over 15,000 feet above sea level. Look in the background here, you can see the llamas. And we went to Ayacucho to visit some missionary friends of ours, and also to see a couple of our graduates who are pastoring the church there. And it was so exciting to see them fruitful in ministry. And we're finding that wherever we go in Peru or Colombia, we've got graduates now that are pastoring churches and being fruitful in ministry. The highlight of the year for us was our evening walks on our roof. We live in a small apartment, but in a large building. And so we would go up on the roof every day when you weren't allowed to go out on the streets, and we didn't have to wear masks up on the roof because we were all by ourselves. And we learned that 40 times around the roof would give us about a 3-mile walk. And so we did that pretty much every day during the shutdown. And it's surprising that in our small apartment, Phyllis and I, when we were recently married, we would have been in each other's throats and being cooped up so long under house arrest in our own home. But it was actually a beautiful year for us. We've always had a close marriage, but we felt like we drew even closer to each other this year. And we've been praying together more often, and actually praying for your church and praying for your pastors and all of our sponsoring churches. So it was just a joyful year for us. And we're excited about all the Lord allowed us to get accomplished this year. This is probably my favorite picture. We call these our Bible college grandchildren. Each one of these students, pastors, are graduates of our program. We trained them, commissioned them, sent them out to plant churches. They won these young people to the Lord, discipled them, recognized their call into ministry, and then sent them to the Bible college to be prepared. Here you see the law of multiplication in action. And let me tell you about a couple of these Bible college grandchildren that we have. This is Kelly. She was our very first Shipibo student from one of the indigenous Shipibo communities in the jungle region of Peru. When she graduated about 14 years ago, she went to a Shipibo village to plant a church and did a tremendous job there. I was actually able to visit her at that church and was so proud of her. And then about a year later, she fell in love with one of our graduates. His name is Adolfo. And they ended up getting married, and they were sent to pastor a church in a small city. And I was actually there in November and met with, first of all, I was thrilled to see them again and to see their 2 lovely children. And this young man is so smart, quoting the Bible better than Moses, unbelievable. But anyway, I met with their leadership, and they told me that when they came on as pastors, they were thinking, young pastors, they were thinking, who do these young bucks think that they are? They're coming here to pastor us. And then they told me literally with glassy eyes, these are the best pastors that we've ever had. Under their leadership, 3 new churches have been planted. And so once again, we see the law of multiplication in action. And then Kelly started inviting her brother to church. He was also Shipibo, and he was more interested in partying and drinking than going to church. But like the persistent widow, she kept inviting him and saying, hey, come on, I want you to come and hear me preach. And so finally, like the unjust judge, he said, okay, I'll go. And he went to church, and he told me that he went there just to please his sister, to get her off of his case. He says, I don't remember anything about the sermon, but next thing I knew, I was down at the altar giving my heart to Jesus. Today, he's got a burning passion to follow in his sister's steps and plant churches. And he's just a tremendously gifted communicator. His name is Michel, and we think he's going to be a tremendous minister, one of our Bible college grandchildren. This is Freddie and Joanna, graduates of ours who, after they were married, they were sent out to pastor churches in the mountain regions of Peru. They're both from the mountain area, and they've pastored 3 churches in the last 14 years. And the last church that they were appointed to was in January of last year. They were appointed the church and pastors of this church, a small church running only 20 people. And 3 months into the pastorate, COVID struck and the church was shut down. They had to do services online and had to do home visitations and home Bible studies and cell groups and what have you. And he ended up growing the church during COVID, during shutdown, from 20 people to 120 people. I was so proud of him when I met him. And the 3 churches that they've planted, that they've pastored, the 3 churches they've pastored have planted 7 other churches. Again, here we see the law of multiplication in action. And then this here is Abel. Abel is one of their parishioners at the church they're pastoring now. They sent him to the Bible college to prepare for ministry. So again, he's one of our Bible college grandchildren, and he's actually falling in love with one of our Bible school students named Nellie, and they're probably going to get together and end up getting married and planting churches. And so we like to tell these stories because it shows the effectiveness of our program, training young men and women to go out and plant churches. They're winning people to the Lord, discipling them, and sending them to the Bible school to be commissioned and trained to plant more churches. This is just very, very exciting for us and very rewarding. And you're a part of it at Indian Trail Church because you continue to sponsor us and sponsor our students. So we appreciate so much our partnership with Indian Trail Church of God. You guys have been standing behind us now for quite a number of years, and we so appreciate your faithful support and the students that you support. We want to encourage you to continue to pray for our ministry this upcoming year, and remember that when you support our ministry, you're helping to support, to keep 2 Bible colleges operational. So thank you for your faithful support. May the Lord bless you and crown you with his favor.